In a small village lived a young man named Arun. Arun was like many of us, constantly thinking, constantly worrying. His mind was always filled with thoughts. Some were about the past, others about the future, and a lot were just plain worries. He would wake up thinking about what he did wrong the day before or what could go wrong today. His mind never seemed to rest. Arun tried many things to quiet his mind. He tried reading, he tried working harder, and sometimes he even tried ignoring his thoughts, hoping they would go away. But no matter what he did, the thoughts kept coming back, louder, stronger, and more confusing than before. One day, after a particularly restless night, Arun decided he couldn't take it anymore. He had heard stories of a wise monk who lived in the mountains nearby. This monk was known for his deep understanding of the mind and the art of finding peace. Without wasting any more time, Arun set out on a journey to meet this monk. The journey was long and tiring, but Arun finally reached the monk's simple hut. The monk was an old man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He welcomed Arun warmly, offering him a place to sit and some water to drink. Arun quickly explained his troubles to the monk. "My mind is always racing," he said. "I cannot find peace. No matter what I do, my thoughts keep me awake at night and distract me during the day. I want to know how to empty my mind, to find some quiet inside." The monk listened patiently, nodding his head as Arun spoke. When Arun finished, the monk said, "I see that your mind is like a noisy marketplace, filled with the sounds of many voices. It's no wonder you feel so tired. Let me tell you a story." The monk began his story. There was once a scholar who was known far and wide for his knowledge. He had studied many books, and people came to him from all over to learn. But despite all his knowledge, he still felt that something was missing. He heard about a great Zen master who lived in the mountains, and he decided to visit him and ask for his wisdom. When the scholar arrived, the Zen master welcomed him and offered him tea. As the master began to pour tea into the scholar's cup, he kept pouring and pouring, even after the cup was full. The tea overflowed and spilled onto the table, but the master kept pouring. The scholar quickly cried out, "Stop! The cup is full! No more tea can fit in." The master stopped pouring and smiled at the scholar. "Our mind," he said, "is like this cup, full of thoughts, full of knowledge, full of opinions. How can I teach you anything when your mind is already so full? You must first empty your cup. Like that cup, Arun, your mind is full. To find peace, you must learn to empty it." Arun thought about the story for a moment. He understood the lesson, but he didn't know how to apply it. "But how do I empty my mind?" he asked the monk. "Every time I try, the thoughts just keep coming back." The monk smiled again. "Let's take a walk," he suggested. They walked together to a small stream nearby. The water was clear and calm, flowing gently over the rocks. The monk pointed to the stream and said, "Look at the water, Arun. See how it flows naturally without any effort. It doesn't try to hold on to anything, and it doesn't resist anything. It simply flows. Your mind is like this stream. When you try to stop the thoughts, you create a dam that blocks the flow. The key is not to stop the thoughts, but to let them flow naturally." Arun watched the stream, trying to understand. The monk continued, "When a thought comes, don't fight it. Don't try to push it away or hold on to it. Simply acknowledge it and then let it go. Just like the water in the stream, let your thoughts flow by. Don't get caught up in them, and don't try to control them. This is how you begin to empty your mind." Arun decided to try the monk's advice. He sat by the stream, closed his eyes, and focused on his breathing. As he breathed in, he noticed a thought coming into his mind. It was a worry about something he had to do the next day. Normally, Arun would have grabbed onto this thought, turning it over and over in his mind, worrying about all the things that could go wrong. But this time, he did something different. He acknowledged the thought. He said to himself, "This is just a thought." And then he let it go. He imagined the thought as a leaf floating down the stream, being carried away by the gentle current. He didn't try to stop it, and he didn't follow it. He just let it go. Another thought came, this one about something from the past. Again, Arun acknowledged the thought and let it go, watching it float away in his mind like a leaf on the stream. At first it was hard. The thoughts kept coming, and sometimes Arun found himself grabbing onto them without even realizing it. But each time he noticed what he was doing, he gently reminded himself to let go. Slowly, he began to feel a sense of calm. As they walked back to the hut, the monk shared another story. "There was once a man who had a beautiful garden," he said. "This garden was filled with flowers of every color, and the air was always sweet with their scent. But the man was never satisfied. He was always worrying about the weeds that might grow, about the flowers that might not bloom, and about the weather that might harm his garden. Because of his constant worrying, the man never truly enjoyed his garden. He was always busy pulling out weeds, even where there were none, and trying to force flowers to bloom before their time. The more he worried, the less he enjoyed his garden, until one day he realized he had spent so much time worrying that he had forgotten to enjoy the beauty that was right in front of him." Arun, your mind is like that garden. When you fill it with worries and thoughts, you miss out on the beauty of the present moment. The more you try to control everything, the more you end up losing the peace you seek. Over the next few days, Arun continued to practice what the monk had taught him. Each day he spent time sitting by the stream, watching his thoughts and letting them go. He didn't try to force them away, and he didn't chase after them. He simply let them flow like leaves on the water. Slowly, he began to notice a change. His mind, which had always been so busy and full, started to quiet down. The thoughts still came, but they no longer controlled him. He felt more peaceful, more at ease with himself. The monk saw the change in Arun and said, "You are beginning to understand. The mind is like a clear sky. Thoughts are like clouds, they come and go, but the sky remains untouched. When you stop chasing the clouds, you can see the sky clearly." Arun nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace within him. He realized that his mind didn't need to be empty of thoughts to find peace. Instead, he needed to stop clinging to the thoughts that came and went. He needed to let them flow naturally, without resistance. One day, as Arun was preparing to leave and return to his village, the monk gave him one final lesson. "Remember," he said, "the mind will always have thoughts, just as the sky will always have clouds. The key is not to fight them, but to accept them. Accept that thoughts will come, and accept that they will go. When you accept this, you will find peace, not by emptying your mind, but by letting go of the need to control it." Arun thanked the monk for his wisdom and began his journey home. As he walked, he felt a lightness in his heart that he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew that his mind would still have thoughts, but he no longer feared them. He knew how to let them go. When Arun returned to his village, his friends and family noticed a change in him. He was calmer, more present, and less troubled by the worries that had once plagued him. When they asked him what had changed, Arun smiled and told them the story of the monk and the stream, of the cup and the garden. He explained that he had learned to let go of his thoughts, to let them flow like water in a stream. He shared the lesson of acceptance, telling them that peace comes not from emptying the mind, but from accepting it as it is. As time passed, Arun continued to practice what he had learned. Whenever he felt his mind filling up with thoughts, he would remember the stream, the cup, and the garden. He would take a deep breath, acknowledge his thoughts, and let them go. And so Arun found the peace he had been seeking, not by emptying his mind, but by learning to live with it, to let his thoughts flow like water in a stream, to accept them without clinging, and to find the beauty in the present moment. This is the story of Arun, a young man who learned that peace comes not from fighting the mind, but from accepting it. It's a story that teaches us all that our thoughts are like clouds in the sky, always changing, always moving, but never lasting. When we stop trying to control our thoughts, when we let them come and go without clinging to them, we find a deeper peace within ourselves. We learn to live in the present moment, to enjoy the beauty of life as it is, without the constant noise of a restless mind. And in that acceptance we find the true emptiness, not the emptiness of a mind devoid of thoughts, but the emptiness of a mind free from the need to control, to worry, and to cling. In that emptiness, we find the fullness of life itself.